Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. If you enjoy deep dive stories about your favorite stars, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Today we're talking about a headline that seemed to come out of nowhere and then refused to leave the trending page. Mahassine openly saying she wants to marry Cenk Torun. Yes, you heard that right. Not a coy "we'll see," not a vague heart emoji, an unmistakable, public declaration of intent. What really happened, why it landed like a thunderclap, and what it could mean next for both of them and the industry around them, let's unpack everything together. First, a quick reset for anyone just joining the story. Mahassine is one of those rare digital era personalities who built a following by being relentlessly herself, elegant but accessible, stylish but warm, blending lifestyle posts with honest reflections about work, travel, and family. On the other side, Cenk Torun is a fixture of Turkish television, an actor who's navigated romantic leads, brooding anti-heroes, and long-running series with the kind of gravitas that only comes from years in front of the camera. Their worlds occasionally brushed up against each other through overlapping fan communities, edits, and speculative comments, but never anything this direct. The spark was a live stream that started like so many others, a casual check-in after a shoot day, a little behind-the-scenes chatter, a few product questions, and then, suddenly, a shift. Mahassine moved from small talk to something more confessional. She spoke about admiration not just for Cenk's looks or celebrity, but for his discipline and steadiness, how he carries himself, how he treats people on set, the way he seems to value quiet over noise. It wasn't framed as a crush of the week. It sounded like a woman outlining criteria for a partner and then saying, clearly, that Cenk Torun fits them. No dramatic soundtrack. No staged reveal. But it hit like one. Within minutes, clips from the stream began circulating. Some edits were respectful, others went full tabloid. Supporters framed it as brave, a modern woman stating plainly what she wants in an era of performative ambiguity. Skeptics called it impulsive, a risky blurring of public and private that could corner a person who never asked to be placed on that stage. A third camp, always present online, wanted it to be a publicity move. It's a campaign, they insisted. It has to be. But the more you watched, the less it looked calculated. If this was a pitch, it was a pitch to one person, not to a brand. Context matters here. Celebrity culture constantly invites us to collapse distance, to treat public figures as if they're already inside our circles. That's the parasocial trap. But what Mahassine did was the opposite of coy proximity. She didn't post an ambiguous photo or half-hint in a caption. She used clear language and attached it to her name. In an era of soft launches, it was a hard launch of a feeling, without any guarantee of an answer. So what did Cenk Torun do? Publicly, nothing dramatic. No Midnight Notes app. No live rebuttal. He stuck to routine posts, set photos, a rehearsal snap, a short clip thanking a charity initiative. In an industry that turns everything into content, restraint can read louder than any statement. And that's where the story turned from a confession into a cultural conversation. What do we think love looks like in public? Is declaring it out loud an act of vulnerability to admire, or a boundary to be questioned? To make sense of what came next, map the timeline. Before the live stream, Mahassine had posted a handful of respectful nods to the kind of craft Cenk represents: long hours, character work, scripts marked with notes. There were no cozy selfies, no suspiciously timed accidental run-ins. After the live stream, there was a brief silence, then something subtle. They were photographed at the same charity gala, photographed separately, arriving and leaving at different times. The message was ambiguous: shared civic space, not shared table. A few days later, industry reporters floated the idea that both had been approached for a documentary segment about cross-cultural creative exchanges. That didn't confirm anything. It did prove there was now market demand for both names in the same sentence. Let's talk about the three frames through which fans started reading the situation. Frame 1, The Sincere Leap. In this reading, Mahassine did what people used to do with letters. She put feelings into words and mailed them, knowing the reply might never come. The power here is clarity. She wasn't asking her followers to manufacture a ship, she was telling the one person who matters that she sees him. It's messy, because real life is messy. But it's honest. Frame 2, The Controlled Experiment. This version says a candid confession can still be a media test, dip a toe into the current and see where it carries you. If public sentiment sours, you can step back. If it softens, the door opens to a measured next step, a joint panel, an interview, perhaps a brand collaboration that lets two people learn each other's rhythms in a low-stakes format before anything personal is risked. Frame 3, The Line in the Sand. In this view, the declaration wasn't meant to prompt a whirlwind romance, it was meant to reassert how one woman intends to live directly, without strategic coyness, even if the answer is no. The audience isn't the target, integrity is. Behind these frames, practical realities loom. Cross-border relationships mean visas, schedules, languages, families, press cultures, and, crucially, contracts. Many productions quietly discourage on-set relationships that could threaten timelines, sponsors, or story arcs. Even if two adults find a private path forward, their public path might need to be slow by design. This is where fans can get impatient, reading cautious pacing as indifference. It might just be professionalism. And yet it would be naive to pretend the ecosystem is indifferent. Agents, managers, and platforms understand the gravity of names that trend together. A respectful, thoughtfully framed conversation between Mahassine and Cenk about art, work, and the line between a persona and a person would attract massive attention without promising anything it can't deliver. If they wanted an elegant middle step, that's it. It respects the confession without commodifying the people at its center. What about the people closest to them? In the days that followed, a few collaborators dropped breadcrumbs, nothing salacious, just signals. A stylist shared a story about leading with kindness. A producer reposted a line about clear speech being a form of love. Friends liking posts doesn't equal consent or confirmation, but it paints a tone. Nobody seemed panicked. The discourse was big, but it wasn't ugly. That alone is rare. There's also the audience's reflection to consider. We say we want authenticity from public figures, then punish them for not editing their truths down to brand-safe hints. We ask for romance, then ask them to disappear if it doesn't conform to our timelines. We celebrate courage when it aligns with our fantasies and label it reckless when it doesn't. The live stream forced a mirror up. What do we actually want when we say we support realness? Now, a gentle reminder. Admiration isn't ownership. If you care about Mahassine Marabet because she makes you feel less alone in a loud world, and you admire Cenk Torun because he shows that decency can be charismatic, the kindest thing you can do is let this play out at human speed. That might mean nothing changes publicly for a long time. It might mean something beautiful happens off-camera, unseen. It might mean a coffee, a conversation, a professional collaboration, a thank you and goodbye. All of those are dignified outcomes if the people involved get to choose them freely. Where does that leave us? With a story that is, paradoxically, bigger than two names. A woman used her platform to speak plainly about love in a culture that profits from innuendo. A man declined to turn his answer into content. The internet talked, loudly. The industry watched, carefully. And somewhere in the quiet between posts, two adults will decide whether step 2 is a message, a meeting, a project, or silence. Until then, we can hold two truths at once. 1. It took courage for Mahassine Marabet to say something so clear without hiding behind winks and slogans. 2. It takes just as much courage for Cenk Torun to decide what to do with that clarity on his own terms, without letting a trending tab make his choices for him. However this unfolds, they've already reminded a very performative culture that directness is still possible, and that boundaries are still allowed. Thank you so much for watching. If this breakdown gave you something to think about, please hit like, subscribe for more thoughtful coverage, and tell me in the comments where you stand: bold romance, careful collaboration, or dignified distance. Your insights shape the next videos on this channel. See you in the next one. Take care and goodbye.